It's easy for fans to forget that NBA players and superstars are humans just like every one of us, because they live in fancy houses, live exuberant lives, drive sports cars, and pop up on your TV screen every now and then. But these players are human just like any one of us, and many people seem to forget that it wasn't always green for most of them. The mansions and cars weren't there from the start for most of these players, and some of them came from terribly rough backgrounds. A number of these players grew up on the streets and they were exposed to a life of violence, drugs, and crime. Some of them joined gangs that dealt in firearms exchange, drug trafficking, cocaine, and if things didn't go their way, these gangs were ready to do anything, even murder. You think you know all about your favorite NBA players? Maybe not. Here are some of your favorite NBA players with gang affiliations. Shocked to see one of the current best players in the league here? Well, we don't think you should if you remember some of the gang signs that James Harden used to throw when he was just making a fantastic career for himself in the NBA. However, we don't think that James Harden has any serious connections to any gangs, but there are many suspicions that the NBA superstar might. James Harden has befriended many rappers who are well known to be members of the Blood. The most notable of those personalities is Lil Wayne, who Harden made sure got a front row seat to a game after the artist complained about not being able to watch courtside on one occasion. Harden invited Lil Wayne to the next game, and also referred to the top-selling hip-hop artist as a 5 in a tweet. It read, "Come to the next game. We got seats for you 5. The number 5 is used to represent the 5-star pointed star, which is often used by the Bloods. Besides that, reports like Slim Thug and Lil Duval have both called Harden out, claiming that Harden isn't really about that life and is only pretending. During an interview in 2017, Tony Allen said this, "You name it, I did everything under the sun. I was never a thief. I was more trying to hustle. Not scam, hustle. Move drugs. That's the reality of my situation." Tony Allen, who is nicknamed the Grind Father, played in the NBA for 15 seasons. He built a reputation as a hard-as-nails defender during his time in the NBA, a reputation which saw Allen become a 6-time member in the NBA All-Defensive Team, including 3 times on the All-Star Defensive First Team. And that's not surprising because of his rough upbringing. Tony didn't have it easy growing up in Chicago and has admitted to being involved in a life of crime as a youth so that he could survive and eat. While the NBA championship winner with Boston Celtics in 2008 has no known affiliations with gangs, he has displayed numerous gang signs during games. During the summer of 2005, Allen was indicted on 3 counts of aggravated battery following a fight at a bar in Chicago which led to a man being shot twice. After the fight, there were serious threats to Tony's life. So much that security had to be beefed up every time he played in Chicago. There were numerous games played against the Bulls that he had to miss because of the threats. If there's any example that shows that the game of basketball always tells us wonderful stories of overcoming terrible backgrounds, life of crime, and bad habits thanks to determination, hard work, discipline, talent, and of course a bit of luck, then that example is Demar DeRozan. The talented point guard was born and raised in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the entire United States. Home to some of the greatest hip-hop performances in history, but also several gangs and criminals. Growing up, Demar saw several members of his own family shot dead within the vicinity of his own house, with a good example being his uncle who was shot dead in the compound. When Demar was 17, his best friend was shot and killed over a dice game. Although he was able to stay away from a life of crime, the point guard was never shielded away from representing his past and has thrown up a fair share of signs during games. It's also said that his known talent while growing up came to the attention of the Crips who protected the player and his remaining family, and also encouraged him to get better and better, because they believed he was going to become the ultimate pride of Compton. Demar once told a reporter that, "People ask me what I would have done if it wasn't for basketball. I can never give a good story because I honestly don't know. I had no other options." Anyone who has followed the career of J.R. Smith will not be surprised his name popped up here. The 2-time NBA champion is not one to shy away from controversies and is covered in tattoos that bear gang symbols. So much that the NBA told him to cover one up in 2018. The player was often questioned about his possible affiliation with the Bloods during his Denver Nuggets days. In 2009, Smith closed his Twitter account after releasing tweets where he replaced the letter C with the letter K, something that is commonly practiced by the Blood gang members as a result of their rivalry with the Crips. He has also been known to throw up gang signs during games. Javaris Criniton is currently serving a 23-year sentence in prison for shooting and killing a 22-year-old mother of 4. Javaris' fall from grace as a professional basketball player to a murderer began when he was playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. He looked like he was going to have a promising career and life ahead of him when the LA Lakers drafted him as the number 19 overall pick in the NBA draft. But things did not go that way because Crittenden, for whatever reason that's unknown to us, thought it was wise to join an LA street gang and become a member of the Mansfield Gangster Crips, just when he began his career as a professional basketball player. After he signed a $2.6 million rookie contract with the Lakers in guaranteed money, the player would only last 22 games before he was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. In 2008, he joined the Wizards, but his gangster mentality stuck with the player through the conference switch, and Javaris was cut from the team after pulling a loaded gun on his teammate, Gilbert Arenas, in the locker room. He was later arrested and suspended for 38 games, the fourth longest ban in the league's history. April 20th, 2011 would later serve as a marker in Crittenden's life when events began to unravel. That day, a little more than a year after he was suspended from the league, Javaris was first in what evolved into a series of robberies over the next few months in which he was robbed. Persecutors and police believed that the events that happened in those months eventually led Javaris to retaliate against the people he had believed had robbed him. Police believed that Javaris did not have faith in the law enforcement officials to make an arrest, and because of that, he decided to take matters into his own hands. But Javaris did not hit his intended target that fateful night of August 2011, and instead hit a 22-year-old mother of 4. Javaris pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 23 years in prison, and during his plea, he admitted to being a gang member. Remember we said that Crittenden pulled a gun on his Washington Wizard teammate? Well, it was Caron Butler who actually talked Crittenden into lowering his gun on that day, claiming that he had seen far worse during his younger days. Caron Butler's journey to fame and success wasn't the best, or by far the easiest, as the small forward didn't have the best childhood or adolescence because he got into a lot of troubles during these years.
We used to be hustling that on this side of the street, come through. Police had to come around and looking, see what angle they come. They hit back, we go back this way. It was crazy, man. It was crazy over here.
At the age of just 12, Butler was already a drug dealer and had been arrested 15 times before he clocked the age of 15. Butler was also caught with an unloaded gun and cocaine during his school days. Although he was later arrested, he still managed to assault a rival gang member. During an interview with Oprah Winfrey, Butler told her that, "My role models back then were pimps, drug dealers." In his 2015 book, Tough Juice, My Journey from the Streets to the NBA, the one-time NBA champion described his troubled life, saying that he had to prove himself as a gang member and drug dealer before he had to prove himself on the basketball court. Butler, who could score, rebound, and made a name for himself as an elite perimeter defender, has seen it all. Butler has seen his friends killed, gotten involved in gang fights, and seen enough violence to break some people. Luckily for him, he found the light in basketball and developed a love for the game while he was at a youth detention center. And he was also fortunate enough to later earn a scholarship to play for the University of Connecticut after playing amateur athletic basketball. Butler was selected as the 10th pick of the 2002 NBA draft by the Miami Heat, the team he would ironically face to win his only NBA championship in 2010 to 2011 while playing for the Dallas Mavericks. Randolph is the eldest of 4 and grew up without his father. His mother single-handedly raised all her 4 kids and taught Zach to believe in love and loyalty. After all, that's all they had. Growing up, Randolph wore the same pair of jeans to school day after day, week after week, because his mom could not afford to get him another pair. The kids in school weren't nice to Randolph and called him crusty. Upset and embarrassed, he walked into a Walmart store, grabbed a new pair of jeans, and tried to walk out the door without paying. He was caught and spent 30 days in juvenile detention. For Randolph, it was the start of a familiar pattern of stealing and crime. As the years passed, Randolph got more and more into the crime world, but his basketball talent was there for everyone to see. He introduced himself to his high school coach, Mo Smedley, and declared to him that he would one day play in the NBA. Randolph became popular in high school for doing the dirty work, muscling, rebounding, and knocking guys that were bigger than him down on the court. However, when Randolph was 15, he was placed under house arrest for battery by authorities. 2 years later, he was placed in juvenile detention for receiving stolen guns. In 2002, he was also arrested for underage drinking, which was less than a year after being drafted into the NBA by Portland. The problems followed him there, where he earned fame as well as his downfall playing for the Trailblazers in Portland. Zach is one basketball star who has little defense when it comes to gang membership, as a gangster discipleship logo was spotted in his house. During the summer of 2018, Zach was arrested for possession of cannabis and intent to sell. He was also taken into custody for robbery before he was drafted into the NBA. Zach has well-known ties with a Portland gang known as the Hoop Family, associate of the Crips, who have been investigated for firearms and narcotics distribution and murder. Comment below to let us know your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe for more. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another one of our videos. We'll see you next time, latest Hoops fans. Until then, keep shooting your shot.